Yes.
Sustain!
Nutrition.
What are we talking about, Joe?
CrossFit pros and cons.
CrossFit pros and cons. You may have heard of CrossFit. Here are the pros and the cons. Community! There's a great sense of community in CrossFit.
This is one of those things that has kind of really established CrossFit in the mainstream, is that people love going, and there's, you know, there's really tight-knit groups of people, the Facebook groups, and you know, how everyone interacts outside of that, and it's much more you'd see in traditional kind of communal gyms.
Yeah, you can't get lost in a normal gym. You'll go in, headphones on, get on some cardio, do that, do your thing, leave, no talk to anyone, which is a bit right, such people like us. The CrossFit gym, you're going to go in and you're going to be working in a class. It's all going to be class. It's going to be quite a small group. Class is limited because of the equipment that they use. So generally the coach will know your name, everyone gets to know your name. You'll be working in partners, or you might be working in teams, or you might be working on your own. But you'll all be doing the same workout, so everyone's in the same boat, which builds a great sense of community. Compounds! So the majority of your training will be built up over the compound lifts, the ones that we keep on banging on about. So it's great, CrossFit is great because it'll introduce people into lifting heavy weights, deadlifts, squats, cleans, lunges, presses, etc., which is obviously a fantastic way to get in shape.
These are the things that people often kind of miss out because they're intimidated, but when it's part of a CrossFit class, you know, you have to do it. You know, because of the structure of CrossFit, you can't go in and do your own things. If you go in and deadlifts on the board, then you're going to do some variation of deadlift. So that's ideal because it makes people do the things they dislike, which is often the thing that's going to give them the biggest bang for their buck.
Scalable. Sexy word. So again, the compound lifts, the kind of the community, the idea that you're doing the workouts with all these other people can be quite intimidating for people. Some people feel they have to get in shape to go to the gym. The good thing about CrossFit is, like I said, you're going to be doing the same workout that someone else is doing, but all the movements are scalable. So whereas some people will be doing kind of kipping pull-ups or butterfly pull-ups, you might just be doing jumping pull-ups or ring rows. But there's always an option for you to do something as long as you're working at your ability and as hard as you possibly can. Nothing. Cons. Boo. Non-linear strength.
He doesn't know what it means.
I know what it means.
So one of the issues with the way that CrossFit is programmed and periodized is that in order to keep it interesting, and because it's focused on so many different lifts and different movements, is it's much harder to program in progressive strength. So what we mean by that is if you're looking to improve your deadlift, then you would deadlift consistently. You would kind of either work the same rep range and try to lift heavier, or you'd periodize and you'd start with, say, 10 reps and you'd reduce down and gradually lift heavier. Because of the structure I just mentioned with CrossFit, this isn't possible because different lifts are incorporated at different kind of points. So you're not going to get the same strength gains that you would with a more periodized program.
This is going to vary from box to box, depending on what programming they do, but generally you'll do some strength work, you'll be repeating it, but because the workouts are so random, you won't get that linear kind of week on week testing your strength on each different lift.
Yeah, so you will get stronger over a period of time, but that time's going to be elongated, whereas if you just kind of did a specific strength program.
Again, that will vary. Varying output. So if you already kind of touched on, CrossFit workouts can be quite random, so you're not going to know what it is generally until you get down and see what's on the board. So if you're trying to increase your output, as you would do with a normal training routine or increasing your cardio, etc., it's not really possible to do. Sometimes you'll do a workout that might last 5 minutes, then you might do another workout that lasts 40 minutes. So it's always going to be slightly random, and your energy expenditure is going to be up and down each workout.
Yeah, most people are looking for fat loss, in which case you need to be kind of gradually increasing your calorie deficit. So you can either do this by restricting your intake or by increasing your output. So the issue, as James just said, is sometimes if 1 week you come and do a 40-minute workout and then the next week it's shorter, is you're not going to get the same kind of calorie burn. So as such, you then have to find more ways to adjust that, and it's harder, you know, when things aren't specifically measured, it's much harder to manage them and to organise this.
Yeah, less variables that you can control. Coaching! So when you go to the CrossFit gym, you're going to be, CrossFit box. When you go to the CrossFit box, you're going to get coached, which is obviously fantastic. It's something you won't receive in a normal gym unless you pay for personal training. It's not quite personal because there might be a group of 20 of you, but you're going to get that coach who's going to tell you what to do, they're going to give you cues, and they're actually going to work on your programming as well.
Yeah, one of the biggest issues is technique. People are either unsure or they are sure, but they're doing it wrong. So when you have a coach who's there, even if it is, if there's 20, 30 people in the class, is if you aren't doing something quite right, it'll be very quick for it to be picked up on, and then you can progress properly. One of the people's main fears, and one of the reasons CrossFit gets slammed sometimes, is injury. But actually, you're just as likely to get injured in a commercial gym setting, and having the coach is going to make it less likely that you're going to be injured if your coach is any good.
It's fun! So there's that little competitive edge where you're training with your friends, so if you're already building relationships, you're having fun. It's fun, it's hard work, but it is fun. There's that competitive element, keeps you going, everyone's cheering you on, everyone's in the same boat. So you might find that you're the last person to finish workout, but everyone is waiting for you and cheering you on and getting you to finish.
It's fun.
Technique. Now, you will get taught fantastic techniques on the Olympic lifts and on the normal lifts. What we're talking about is some of the workouts will be done for time. So if you're only thinking about the clock and trying to beat whatever workout you did last time at a certain time, then you might sacrifice your form. Deadlifts, for example. So instead of you coming down to the bottom of your deadlift, taking a reset, think about your technique, you're just going to think about hitting those reps. If you've got 5 reps left, you're going to do them as fast as possible. As such, your technique can break down.
A quick caveat on that is this is one of the main things that CrossFit gets slammed for, and it's only in the scenario that James is mentioning, and it's the professional level when these things are on YouTube, is that it's a competition, so people are going to let their technique slide. It's not something that CrossFit endorses or CrossFit focuses on, it's just something that happens as a byproduct of when you're training to time.
Because exercise selection, excuse me, so some of the movements, again, this is some of the points where CrossFit gets slammed on, so things like the Olympic lifting are not really designed to be done high volume, especially not when you're fatigued. If you're doing high rep barbell snatches with a heavy load, you are going to tend to get prone to injury.
Yeah, one of the issues you have is that people who are performing these lifts, because it's so open to everyone and because of all the beneficial elements, is that you get someone who maybe shouldn't be doing those movements, but they want to be part of it, and they'll kind of push the issue, and these are the people who are more prone to injury because they aren't able to get into the biomechanical positions required to do kind of an overhead snatch or squat or anything like that. So then these people are more prone to injury, and especially like James says, when you add in the high reps and the fatigue, it's going to make it even more likely.
So overall, lots of pros. I think CrossFit is fantastic. Personally, I did it for about a year, really enjoyed it. The non-linear strength and the varying output are obviously things that you can't have any kind of control over really, because the workouts are in someone else's hands, which is also a pro as well, because it's programming. The technique and the exercise selection is something that you can control. So if you concentrate on doing your technique as opposed to thinking about beating the clock or kind of beating your own score, and then the exercise selection, if you're sensible with the reps that you do and the weights that you do, then obviously these are things that you can overcome. So overall, CrossFit gets a thumbs up from us. Do we think it's ideal? No. If it's something that you enjoy, you're going to do it all the time, then fantastic. But for us, yeah, CrossFit is a winner.
Yeah, one of the biggest issues is people just getting themselves into the gym and doing an effective workout. CrossFit massively ticks that box. As James says, is it perfect? Well, possibly not, because of the varying output and the linear strength. If you aren't able to do that, which unfortunately is most people, then CrossFit's going to be good for you to go.
Yeah, if you thrive in a kind of a group environment and you enjoy getting your ass kicked by other people, if you're a bit more of a hermit, you let's put your headphones on and do your own thing, like me and John, then probably just normal gym workout is for you. You decide!